everybody. I'm Kristina Zachary with the Zachary team, brokered by Phyllis Brown & Company. Thank you so much for joining us on another podcast at Home Sweet Home San Antonio Live. We are super happy to have you here. Today we have another special guest with us. I'm super excited because we've yet to have an investor on this show. We have Daniel Cabrera on our show today, and he is the CEO of Sell My House Fast and Texas, right? Sell My House Fast Texas. Perfect. So Daniel, hi, how are you?
Hey there. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you for making the drive over here. I know it took you, like an hour? Because we're far west side and you're far east side.
And it was raining hard, but happy to be here.
That is true. So thank you so much for coming. Tell us a little bit about yourself. And you could talk to the YouTube world and you could talk to us. And just tell us a little bit about yourself and Sell My House Fast Texas.
Where do I start? My name's Daniel. I'm from New Jersey originally. Moved here in 2012, I guess.
Yeah.
So I've been here now about 12 years. Been doing real estate investing for a while. Got a daughter. Her name's Isabella.
Okay.
What more would you like to know?
Well, here we go. I'm about to ask. So you're from Jersey. That's a ways away. How did you end up in San Antonio?
It was mid-December with 4 feet of snow outside and negative 2 degrees. And I was working at a bank at a time. I used to be a banker.
Okay.
And I worked at Chase Bank. Bunch of Chase Banks down here. My best friend moved down here, and it was mid-December, and I was complaining about the terrible weather. He told me it was 75 degrees in San Antonio.
Yeah.
And 2 weeks later, I was in San Antonio, and
wow.
I've been here ever since.
What made you make a decision that quickly? Why not? Did you look at other places like maybe Austin or Dallas or Florida, anything like that, just because your best friend moved?
My best friend moved
San
here,
Antonio.
and it was freezing in Jersey, and that was about it. That's all the motivation I needed, pretty much. So, but I came down to the Riverwalk. Loved it.
Did you drink the water? That's usually what happens.
I thought I was basically in Venice, in Texas. And I was like, that's it. This is my new home.
Perfect.
And been here, I guess, 12 years now.
So you've seen San Antonio grow dramatically or drastically in the last 12 years. So you said you were banking up in Jersey and you came down, like you just kind of relocated back to Chase down here. Mm-hmm. So tell me about that transition from banking into investing. I know those kind of go hand in hand, but what made you decide to make that big leap?
Well, that's a good question. Banking was kind of like the foundation. I don't know if I want to call it the foundation. It's just I didn't have the resources really to really start real estate investing because it's a very capital intensive business. But what I knew is I had the financial ability and understanding of, okay, what are the best ways to get loans? What are the best ways to get line of credits? What are the best way to leverage certain assets? So that kind of set the foundation for me to be able to start acquiring houses, how to get them. Because I just didn't have the money to buy them. But I had the credit. I had the job stability when I was in banking. And, you know, the first house I picked up was a good deal. I bought it with
a hard money loan?
No.
Oh.
I bought it as my house. It was my first house I bought. And I think I put 3.5% down, which was like $7,000 at the time.
Yeah.
Put a little bit of money into it, lived in it for 6 months. Then I took out a line of credit against the house to finish out the rest of the rehab. Sold it and repeated that process several times until I was at the point where I could start taking out hard money loans and just buying houses outright. But I will say banking, I hope and pray to God I never have to go back to it.
Right.
But it set a really solid foundation to understand how to be disciplined, how to read a proper P&L, how to know how to manage the financial aspect of things and how to utilize money that you don't have.
Right.
So that aspect of it was critical to where we're at today. But
Yeah. So getting into that investing side, you didn't have a mentor. You just kind of winged it.
I was watching Flip or Flop all the time, like religiously.
Because that's super realistic.
And I was like, you know what? And I was like, if this guy Tariq El Moussa could do it, pretty
So can
sure
I.
I could figure this out. Yeah. You know? And although, I take it back. I did buy one flip prior to that with a buddy of mine. And that was all the mentorship I needed. I made so many mistakes.
Yeah.
I bought a house. It had no septic tank,
Ooh.
no AC duct. It had the
Oh.
AC registers.
Okay.
But no AC ducts.
Uh-huh.
No AC. The foundation was messed up.
Ouch.
And I was thinking the house was going to need like $30,000 to fix it up, make it look pretty, and
It was probably double.
it was like 80,000.
Oh, more than double. Okay.
So yeah,
That
I
works.
mean, that was a big learning lesson. Get an inspection if you've never flipped a house before.
Yeah.
You would think that would be pretty standard, but
Well, you go into things,
you
you
live
don't
and
know
you
what
learn.
you don't know.
Exactly. Exactly. But
Now, I know in that 12-year time frame, I know this is going to be a big jump, but how many houses would you say you've flipped? I know that's kind of like, we're starting from the beginning, and it's like, no, how many houses you flipped?
it's probably close. Probably somewhere around 200 houses.
Wow.
We've done a few.
Okay.
For sure.
So that first one that you bought, kind of you lived in 6 months and you worked on it yourself. Where was that located?
That was right next to Timberwood Park.
Oh, that's a good location
It
now.
was Timber Oaks North, so 1604 in Blanco, outside the loop, right next to Camp Bullis. Loved it. It was an awesome house. I wish I owned that house today. It was a really sweet house. It was on an acre.
Yeah. Ooh.
But, it was a different time. I was, I don't know, 26 at the time, 25 at the time, and, just kind of starting to get into this. And
Yeah.
they say never love real estate because it won't love you back,
Yeah.
And so sold it and went on to the next one. But, yeah, it's
Yeah.
several years back now.
And do you kind of go back to visit that? Like,
I do
just
all
start
the
by-
time. I've taken my daughter there several times because she was born in that house. So I bring her back every once in a while. And, yeah, it's been sold 2 or 3 times since I've sold it. But, yeah, it's a nice house.
Have you ever thought about buying it again?
I got such a good deal on it when I first bought it. I don't think I could pay full retail for a house. Yeah.
That's true, yeah. Very cool. Now, there's so many different, like, especially within these past few years, right? Ever since COVID happened. I guess, actually, let me ask that question first. How did COVID affect your business?
Oh, man, I don't want this to be controversial. But COVID was like the best thing that ever happened
I say the
to
same
my
thing
business.
sometimes, too. Okay.
Like, oh, man, I wish 2021 would come back.
Yeah, well, actually a bunch...
Minus, like, COVID.
Yeah, actually a bunch of real estate was a huge booming industry at the time. So I don't think it's bad. It's just a matter of,
For sure.
of fact. So did you find more, it was just things falling onto your lap, or it was just easier for you to find opportunities out there yourself?
It was just more so every house we picked up, we sold immediately with multiple offers every single time. I had a house that I had to do a lease back on because the person who was selling the house to us, they needed 3 months. And the house was in pretty good shape. It needed a little bit of work. But in that 3-month time frame that I gave them a lease, the property appreciated like $80,000 in value in 3 months.
Wow.
Where if I would have just got it and put it on the market 4 weeks later, it was just a crazy time.
It
And
was
hopefully we got those days back here sooner than later, but
I think
we'll
it's
see.
going to be later, but...
Yeah, that's probably accurate.
I know. Now, okay, so you started yourself. I know you started kind of with a buddy of yours, and you moved into a place, blah, blah, blah. When did you start? Do you have a team for yourself? And when did you start? Like, tell us about that time frame of, you having to pick up more people, like maybe you had to pick up specific contractors, or you had to really start networking in order to get a good group of team members behind you.
And honestly, that's probably one of the hardest things, because when I first started doing it, and I've got no background in this. I was a banker my entire career.
Right.
I didn't know anything about construction other than maybe how to paint. You know? I mean, that was about it, really.
Let's start getting into investing.
But I had a really solid handyman who I still work with today.
Nice. It's all about relationships.
12 years now. He's still with me today. And he was just such a solid resource, and really, honestly, just an overall great guy.
Yeah.
And he introduced me to a few people, different plumbers, different electricians, different people, and obviously just word of mouth and trial and error over time. But yeah, we've got a really solid crew now. That makes everything far easier. But yeah, there's been plenty of times we hire people. It's been a nightmare, and it just takes time to find the right people to work with. But once you've got the right crew of people, it sure makes things
a whole lot smoother.
A whole lot easier.
I guess it's kind of just that whole consistency thing, and the more consistent you are, you have to create those systems and processes, no matter what type of industry or business you're in.
And it's so much more seamless now. Like now, I need countertops. I call Armando. He goes out. I'm not even asking for a bid from him because I know what he's going to charge me. I don't even have to check his work because I know he's going to do a great job. And if God forbid if he messed something up, I know he's coming back. And just so many different, I can't tell you how many people. Yeah. We're fortunate to have a really good crew. And it's a big credit of my success as part of the people that we work with. Absolutely. You know, they're awesome.
So do you find it helps that when you're going into a place and someone's kind of quoting you, okay, well, you kind of know, hey, okay, looking at these countertops, it's probably going to be about this much, or looking at the structure, it's probably maybe about this much.
Yeah, I mean, I can walk into a house and in 7 minutes, like pretty much guaranteed, within a couple $1,000 one way or the other, I'll know what that rehab budget is going to look like.
How long did it take for you to get that confidence, to kind of get that number where you could walk in and be like, and give a good estimate of a number?
You know, that's a good question, and I don't know if I've ever really looked at it in that light. It was more so what the home is worth, what I can get it for, and more or less what I think the rehab is going to be.
Yeah.
You know, so I never really nailed it down to the penny on a rehab, because so much of real estate investing is how quickly are you willing to commit to a house?
Right.
Because there's 100 other guys and girls just like me who will hop on an opportunity immediately. So it's tough because you've got to make decisions so quickly. So if the numbers were well enough, it was something to hop on sooner than later. But, I mean, I would probably say it took several years before I had the confidence in a bunch of houses to feel, to have a better, idea.
Yeah. Now, in investing, there's a ton of risk management, or just kind of knowing what risks to look for. Do you find that being emotional into it or not emotional or unemotional to it helps? Like, give us that balance, because we do know some emotional investors and some not. So where do you feel you are in that balance, and how does it help you? How do you manage risk going into a purchase?
I don't think there's any emotion at all, at least on my end.
Yeah.
Other than I've thought about moving into 50 of my houses that I've bought, although haven't. But no, I wouldn't say there's, at least for me per se, there really isn't emotion there. I think one of the biggest things which is I think really underrated, is just making sure your books are where they need to be. Because if you don't know what you've got vested into a project, it's so hard to make future decisions. If the budget's out of control, if it's not out of control. But no, I mean, the emotional aspect, that's not too much of a problem, at least for me. But
Okay.
yeah.
Good answers. So now I want to get into the chisme. Okay, let's get into the fun part. All right. I want to know. Hold on, babe. Hold on, babe. Hold on. Technical difficulties. We can hear Gabriel's mic. Or are we good? Sorry about that. So
Let's
he's
go.
like, should we talk about the chisme? Should I not? It's a break in the way. No. So let's talk about chisme, right? You told us about, sometimes you get out of budget. That's a nightmare. Sometimes you're working with people who cause delays, which is another nightmare. What are some crazy stories that you can tell us? Nothing positive right now. I just want the chisme. We don't need to name names either. Just tell me the chisme. What other investors can look out for? Because we all have those stories, like, oh, man, that was a learning experience. Never do that again.
God, I probably have more than you could even think of.
But when I say the word horror story, what's the first house or first experience that comes to mind?
So I bought a house, and it's called the Goat House.
I love naming houses. We're off to a great start.
I bought a house.
Okay.
It was July 1st.
Of this? No, not
last year.
Okay.
A woman reached out to me, said, "Hey, Dan, I'm getting foreclosed on July 5th.
Ouch. Oh, 4 days.
Right.
Eesh.
But 4th of July is Monday.
Yeah. Okay.
So everything is closed.
Yeah.
So I meet with her on that Saturday. I don't know if it's July 1st or 2nd. I don't really know. But it's all within that time frame.
Okay.
I meet with her. She's getting foreclosed on a few days. There's literally nothing I can do because it's only 3-4 days away. There's not enough time to pull a payoff for the mortgage. There's not
It's
much of
also a
anything.
weekend. Yeah.
Right. My go-to lawyer, who I usually use to help me in these scenarios, he's in Cancun somewhere. I don't know. It's 4th of July weekend.
Yeah.
So I called probably 300 different lawyers over that day to find a lawyer to help me file a lawsuit to stop the foreclosure.
Right.
Get the foreclosure stopped. Awesome. Buy the house. The minute I buy the house, I never heard from the lady ever again.
Okay.
That was it. Granted, she never left the house. So I go there. I go there a couple days afterwards, thinking, maybe she left. I don't know what happened. There's a goat tied to the front door, and it's a pretty big goat, And I'm like, okay, well, she's not answering my calls, messages, emails, nothing. I was like, hey, let me knock on the door. I don't really know. I tried approaching the door. The goat's right there, won't let me pass. I'm like, okay, well, never mind. And needless to say, the house was trashed.
Oh, absolutely.
And a pretty nice hoarder home. But yeah, that was probably one of the more interesting ones. So that day, I called up an attorney, started the eviction process. From start to finish, I bought the house 3 months later, went back there with the bailiff.
Oh my gosh.
Got her evicted out of the house that I bought from her. The goat was still there, by the way.
I was just about to ask.
It wasn't tied to the front door. It was inside the house now.
Lovely.
It was running around the house. I had a hip replacement 3 weeks prior.
Okay.
Get to the house. The goat ran into the police officers, ran into my dad.
Oh my gosh.
I was worried I was going to have round 2 of hip replacement. That didn't happen. Fortunately, the goat never got to me. The new hip works pretty well.
Yeah.
It was an ordeal.
Wow.
So, yeah.
So what happened to the goat? Animal services?
Animal control came.
Okay.
Had no idea what to do.
Oh. This is sexist, guys. We should know what to do with the goat.
But the cop said, he goes, dude, you should just shoot it and make, what is it, cabrillo or
Oh,
cabrito?
no.
Or he was like, and that didn't happen. Then one of her kids came and took the goat.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was really interesting experience to say the least.
Okay.
But it went really well. I mean, as far as a flip is concerned,
Yeah.
it worked out. If I had to do it over again, I would.
Nice.
So
So that's a horror story. What about a funny story? I know that one's kind of funny, but I think there's should be one where it's like, or maybe you think of another horror story, right? What's another story that comes to your mind? You're like, wow, that was interesting.
funny story, real estate. Is there such a thing?
You know, maybe not at the time, but as years pass, you can look back on the experience.
I don't know if I could think of anything too funny, but there's been far more horror stories.
Give me another horror story.
Joe's house.
Oh man,
Or the 4th of July shirts.
good call. Ugh.
Which one? Luck of the draw.
It's interesting because I kind of specialize in buying fire damage homes. It's one of, I don't know how it happened. I buy a lot of burnt down houses. And so I bought a house and I had it sold to a buddy of mine. Like I bought it. Sometimes if I have too many projects going on, I've got a bunch of friends who kind of in the same business and I look out for them, they look out for me, and so I already had it resold. I was under contract to resell it. Oh, 4th of July again, by the way.
There you go. Watch out for this
4th
time
of July
year.
is tough, you know?
Yeah.
Man, I didn't even think about it. It's coming up.
It's coming up.
It
It's
is
right around
coming
the
up.
corner.
Holy shit. Better make sure my insurances are paid up, you know? I should really think about that.
Make sure all your transactions are going well. You know.
And 4th of July came. I bought the house. I only had it for like 2 days, and 2 days from now, I was going to be selling the house to a buddy of mine. Mm-hmm. But he was using a hard money loan. Closing got delayed to the following week. 4th of July came. The neighbors were outside drunk, lighting fireworks. The house caught on fire.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that was kind of a bummer. That was one. Then there was another one, also a hoarder house. Same scenario, guy was getting foreclosed on.
Yeah.
And I already purchased I can't remember if I purchased that. Yeah, I did purchase the house. But I gave him a lease back of like 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. And at least he was cooperative. Like he would answer my phone calls, but he wasn't getting rid of anything in the house, and the house was flooded with stuff. So my girlfriend, Kristina, had the wise idea, hey, let's put a couple posts out on Facebook and Marketplace.
Yeah.
Free stuff, come and get it.
Yeah.
And there must have been hundreds of people there at the house just picking stuff at the house.
Wow.
A fight broke out.
Of course.
Because somebody was stealing something out of the next guy's pickup truck, and a few other crazy things that I don't even know if we should bring up right now, but it was just wild. I guess never a dull moment.
Yeah.
Although I wish I would have more dull moments. Those
are pretty nice.
Yeah, I like them.
That was pretty smooth.
Yeah, pretty nuts, but the goat story takes it all, though.
Yeah.
If I had to think of one more, I had a dog house one time. There's probably 9 dogs and 8 people living in a 1,200 square foot house.
9 dogs. Are they Chihuahuas or are they like bull mastiffs?
You know, to be fair, I bought that house in about 45 to 90 seconds.
Oh.
It smelled so bad that I ran out, made an offer. They accepted it. I was like, interesting. And then, yeah, that was a terrible one. That was really bad. I had to primer the slabs, the walls,
I was about to ask. So I think a lot of other investors, they run into these situations. So, of course, when you have such a strong scent in the home, that's whether smoke or pet urine or pet droppings and all of that stuff. So how do you, I think for us, right, if we're not investors or for certain people, we could think that takes forever. That takes a lot of money. Is it such a hard process or is it just...
It just
like
depends.
there's certain things work every single time.
It depends, because if you're replacing it just, can you get to the slab or not? Because that's usually where it is.
Okay.
Like any cat urine, dog urine,
It'll permeate to the
into
slab.
the slab. So the problem is, if you have tile, there's no way to eliminate it unless you chip up all the tile.
I just got shivers.
Yeah, and primer the entire slab and primer the walls. So if you don't rip them out, it's gonna stay. No matter, you could put bleach for days. You can buy nothing will take it out, other than rolling the slab. But once you do, it's gone. Hopefully it's in the budget to replace the floors.
Yeah.
And if it is, then no harm, no foul. But
Right. Well, there is foul, but you got to get rid of it. So, okay, those were kind of horror stories. What's been, because there are really happy, positive moments in helping families and helping people in real estate. So what are some stories where it's like, wow, you felt so amazing afterwards?
there's a lot of them. You know, it's a little bit different for me because I'm not a realtor.
Okay.
You know, a lot of people who come my way, there's some form of distress
Yeah.
that's involved, whether you're going to lose your house to the bank, whether there's just something that's there. There's some form of distress.
Like a huge pain point.
There's a huge pain point in kind of working with us. But I can't tell you, there's been so many people that were days away from losing their house that are able to kind of get a fresh start because you kind of can't turn to a realtor in that point, you know? And granted, working with a company like ours, it's not for everyone. I'll tell you, you know, to get the most money out of a house, to get full retail value, your best bet is to work with a realtor. You know, but there are points where if your house caught on fire, if you're about to lose your house within a few days, if the house is in disarray and needs a lot of work, if you inherited a house that you didn't want, that also needs a lot of work. But there's been so many different families that, you know, we're able to kind of give a second chance to, so that they can start over and move on to the next chapter of their life. And it's really neat too to be able to take properties that are run down and to give them to a new family who is absolutely in love with the house as well, which is, it's fulfilling.
Yeah, I was gonna say it was like a full 360
for
kind of experience. Yeah.
And that's one of the things I like about the business the most, is just, you know, trying to help people out, putting new families into the houses who are going to appreciate the work that we do. And obviously we're doing it to make some money at the same time, but it's been a great business, you know, and love doing it. So
now, how do you combat, I know a lot of people think, you know, when they think car salesman, they think shark. Lawyer, they think mosquito, or like some like irritating thing. How do you combat the stigma that's kind of around the typical sleazy investor type?
that's fair. It's a good question. You know, I think the biggest thing is just, can I add value? And I tell people all the time, you know, if we're not the best fit for you, I want to be able to just point you into the right direction.
Right.
And I work with several realtors, you know, and if you're in a position where I think working with the realtor is a better idea, or going a different route is a better idea, I'm more than happy to kind of, you know, refer out. The biggest thing for me is just taking care of people and making sure that, you know, we're pointing them into the right direction. A lot of the houses that we purchase, there's something wrong with them. A lot of them are fire damaged homes, or they have foundation issues, or they need a lot of work, or they're going to lose the house within a few days, where a realtor really can't help as much as I think I could.
Yeah. Or it's just a little bit of a longer startup process sometimes.
For sure. So, you know, honestly, for me, it's not really a sales pitch, but if I can add value and I think we can be more of a benefit, I like to explain, to every client we work with what their options are, and if they think we're the best fit and they see value in working with us, then we'd love the opportunity to earn their business. And ultimately, if we're not, I totally get it, and all of our offers are no obligation, and try to point them into the right direction.
Nice. Well, see, investors with hearts exist out there, everybody. Come on. Now, how many houses would you say you're working on currently? Like, they can be in the starting phase, they can be already like listed, just kind of.
Right now I have 4.
Mm-hmm.
But I have another 2 in the next week. So
Nice.
It's about 6.
Okay, nice little turnover. Now, in regards to that, so obviously 12 years ago, trends were different. The times were different. It was what, 2012? We thought the world was also going to end back then.
Yeah, the Mayans.
So, obviously, things are becoming a little bit more modern or more techy. So what have been your favorite trends throughout the years? Or what do you find that's coming back? Or what are you like, I would never put that in a home? Kind of, from the design aspect.
That's a great question. But I flip houses for a living.
Yeah.
I'm not really the design guy. I did one design for
but maybe you don't like the quartz countertops. Maybe
I love
you're
quartz
like
countertops.
No, I know, but I'm just saying. For example, I'm so glad we got out of granite and now we're turning to quartz. That sort of thing. But
I will probably say the espresso cabinets with the polka dot ice cream granite countertops. I'm really glad those are gone.
Oh, that's very specific.
Yeah, I did that a lot, actually.
Really?
And people loved it.
Yeah.
But that's gone. But, honestly, I don't really focus on the design element so much. I did one design for about 50 houses. I was like, okay, you know what? Maybe I need to switch up design a little bit.
Yeah.
I've been working. A buddy of mine was like, hey, why don't you just use the interior designer I'm using? Mm-hmm. And it's been incredible. The guy is
Delegation.
Great. Mm-hmm. And now I don't have to go to Floor & Decor and Home Depot and Lowe's and God knows how many different places to try to figure this out. He sends me everything in one snapshot. This is what the kitchen's going to look like. This is the primary bedroom, primary bathroom, the other bathrooms, all of the light fixtures you're buying. And it is streamlined. And honestly, he's incredible.
So it goes back to that team we were talking about.
Yeah.
Okay.
And granted, I haven't used them for a very long time. I've only been using them for maybe the last year and a half now. But we've been, I don't want to say we've been doing a lot more higher end homes because that's not it. We kind of, our main area is probably the $300,000 range, 300,
Average.
400. But we've been doing some more expensive homes and they just need to be nicer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what is your favorite part of the process? Of course, we all love beginning to end, and people like, yeah, I love payday, but what part of it? Is it like going in and, checking it out and being like, here's my offer? Or is it the offer getting accepted? Or is it just kind of coming in and knocking down walls? Like, what part of the process?
My favorite part is offer accepted.
Okay.
Me buying a house. I don't know what it is. I just...
Is it like a challenge? It's like
it's a challenge. I just like making a deal work. And they're hard to come by a lot of times.
Yeah.
So just getting someone's buy-in, being able to get a deal accomplished is for sure. The rehab part of it is the least favorite part. And it was
pretty crap.
It was early on. Early on, I thought it was awesome, but you do it so many times, it's just it gets overwhelming. And once you've got 6-7 houses going all at the same time, it's a lot.
Yeah. No, I understand.
Yeah.
So what would you say? San Antonio's a massive city, right? We've grown outward. You got highways 410, 604. I think they're thinking about making 211 a third loop. freaking crazy.
Wild.
But what would you say your favorite part of San Antonio is to kind of invest in, or what, which spots?
It's interesting because if there's any realtors out there, I have a full buy box of everywhere that I'll purchase. And more than happy to send it to anybody. But I like anything that's not on Pier and Beam.
Oh, you don't mess with Pier and Beam.
It's not that I don't mess with Pier and Beam. I just don't traditionally like areas that there is Pier and Beam. They're just traditionally older homes. They need far more work.
Okay.
They shift all the time. You could fix the foundation up completely, and a month later there'll be cracks everywhere. So I prefer really anything outside of 410, all the way down from 90, all the way up to New Braunfels.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, pretty much. So big area. Anything inside 410 I'll consider, but things just changed a little bit.
Yeah, so there's tons of different types of families in San Antonio, and of course there's the gap and the living wage, and there's a bunch of issues going on right now. Do you find that there's more and more families reaching out to you now versus when you started, or even in the middle? You think it's increased over time?
Within the last, I would say, 6 months to a year.
Versus the whole 12 years
yeah.
you've been doing it. Why do you think that is? Do you think it's foreclosures or just...
No, I think it's just really difficult to sell a house right now. I think it's hard to sell a home. I think a lot of people are listing their houses. They're not selling. And they're looking for different avenues. And I think they're exploring cash home buyers just because homes aren't moving. And a lot of times, there's a lot of houses we're interested in. There's a lot we're not. But I think we're all kind of feeling it a little bit, at least in our area right now. But if you're a buyer, it's a great time. I would think I know the rates are higher, but I think it's a great time to pick up a house. To sell one, I think it's a little bit more difficult. But, I mean, I think, whether it's a company like ours or working with a knowledgeable realtor who knows how to price a house and market the property is something
ding.
Yeah, I mean, is something that can go a long way in today's environment.
Absolutely. Now, for Sell My House Fast Texas, right, your company, with it's like real estate, right? There's thousands of realtors in San Antonio. How do you differentiate your business from others? I know you spoke about value, but what other things do you do? Is there something, do you think about different about your website, or is it your approach? How do you get yourself to feel like...
Honestly, I think the biggest thing for us is I've been buying houses since 2009. So not always in San Antonio. It's been probably 15 years now. And I think the biggest thing for us is just we're going to set the expectation up front.
Yeah.
Whether you agree, like it, don't like it.
Take it or leave it.
Take it or leave it.
Texas way.
We're credible or honest, and I do what I say I'm going to do.
Do you find that getting reviews help? I know reviews help a lot of businesses these days.
We've got over 100 reviews on Google. Or with the Better Business Bureau. We've been doing this a while now. They definitely help.
Now, I know you've also been on the news or TV, right? So do you, brag about that a little bit? Excuse me, have you seen Channel 12? Hello? I don't know what Channel 12 is. I don't have cable. I'm just assuming. I went off a case at 12. I'm doing what I can.
We've had a decent amount of publicity in the last couple of years. It's all helpful. It all kind of comes back into credibility. I think a big part of it is buying a home, selling a house is a huge decision. A lot of the times it's the biggest asset, an individual has. And if you're going to work with somebody, especially a home buyer, you should probably look into them somewhat to make sure they're credible and, I think the tough part about our industry, there's a lot of people who claim to be home buyers, and they're not. They're wholesalers, and so, and that's kind of the tough part. A lot of individuals will. I'll give you a prime example. I went to a house today in Windcrest.
Okay.
The house is worth $375. It's a 4,000 square foot home. It is gigantic.
That is big for Windcrest.
It has foundation issues.
Oh, okay.
It needed everything. Foundation issues. The ACs were old. There was cracks everywhere. The flooring needed to be replaced. The kitchen, bathrooms, everything.
Like a total revamp.
Total remodel. The house is worth $375, and the person who brought it to me was trying to sell it to me at $325. I'm like, bud, the house is going to need $125,000 in work.
Yeah.
But again, that was a wholesaler who got somebody under contract, pretending to be a home buyer when they're not. So I think the biggest thing, if you're trying to sell your house and you want to work with a home buyer, working with somebody you got a phone call from, a cold call, is probably not the best. Not to say that they're not the right people, but I would say look into them, do a little bit of due diligence.
Yeah, I feel like there's a lot of more vulnerable families out there who really need a way out, and they'll just take the first
I tell
thing.
sellers all the time, I am so scared one person's going to leave me a bad review on Google that I'm going to set the expectation completely up front.
Yeah.
You know exactly where we're going to be able to come in at. If you think that that's fair, I'd love to earn your business. And if not, like I said, I'll try to point you into the right, direction.
Yeah. Now, speaking of families and vulnerability and all that other stuff, we ourselves in the industry, whether you're an investor, just in the real estate industry in general, I think it can be a very overwhelming business. I think it can, before you realize it can take up a lot of your time and a lot of your energy and a lot of your mood and takes up all your stress. So how do you balance your family and work life with investment and all of that?
I don't know if I really know the answer to that one.
Okay.
Other than time. I tell you.
Do you mean time blocking?
No, I mean like experience. I tell you, for the first 7 years, I was a walking basket case.
Yeah.
Every day. I couldn't go on vacation without being completely nervous the entire time. And especially, like, I got into this and I didn't have money, so I was risking every penny I had every single time on the house or couple houses we were doing. So, yeah, I was literally a walking basket case. I don't know what the right answer to that one is. I could tell you now, I've done this long enough that I try to mitigate that stress, and it's far less stressful now than it was years prior. But then again, the market changes constantly. Things happen, and there's always a new set of... I would say this is not for the faint of heart.
Yeah. No, it's not.
This business, you've got to have...
tough skin. Grit.
Yeah, I would say don't get into this if you don't have tough skin. But it can sure be rewarding if you do.
Yes. And you brought your beautiful wife here. So she's like our first guests. It's really cute. So how do you guys, is it something this is something that you do together, or is it just kind of, tell me about that? Because there's some like husband and wife teams out there. There's some that are like, I would never work with my spouse. So it's just kind of, what is that like for y'all?
We don't work together on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah.
But there's some synergy there between us. She's looking out for different houses that she thinks that would be a good opportunity every once in a while.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, she's actually referred to me several houses, and actually one not right around the corner from here. And granted, I try to help. She works in for a production home builder.
Yeah.
So I try to refer to her, but it doesn't usually work out, unfortunately.
How?
But
I have a question. How does how do you network, or do you have like business cards, or do you go around being like, "Hey, I'm an investor, call me," you know? Like,
I hate networking.
okay, it's just so much.
I really don't like it.
So it's a lot of your business is like word of mouth, or like generating
it's word of
something
mouth.
online.
I've got a bunch of realtors I work with, different people in the investment community that I work with. And it's just been something building up over years. And looking online, too, for different houses.
Now I gotta
As
know,
well.
like, is there investor beef out there? You know, there's beef, man. Like, if professionals over here, like, I understand you don't need a license to invest, right? So I can assume, like, we have to be professional sometimes with other realtors, but you don't necessarily have to be professional with another investor. Like, what beef is out there? I want to know the carnitas. I want to know everything.
I wouldn't say... It's interesting, because I went to a house like a week ago.
Uh-huh.
And I was competing against one of my competitors.
Yeah.
And I called them up afterwards. I'm like, bud, why are you offering this much? I was like, are you nuts? Like, did you miss this, this, and this? And it was just funny because I told a woman I met with, she had like 8 different offers. Mm-hmm. And I was like, listen, the only 2 people of your 8 offers that are legitimate are mine and this one other company.
Yeah.
And I was like, listen, like, I can't, and I just, truthfully, I couldn't compete with his offer, and maybe he's slow right now, and that could be a reason why he was just wanting to secure purchasing, that house. The only, I could think of one person, I'm not going to say their name.
No, don't say their name.
But man, we almost got into a fist fight at one property. Not because of me. Uh-huh. I'm a lover, not a fighter.
Yeah.
But we were both in the house. We both showed up at the same time. The seller reached out to both of us.
Yeah.
He thought I was so rude because I was there. I'm like, bud, she invited both of us out to the house. I'm not really sure why you're annoyed with me right now. And we met outside the house after meeting with her. Oh my Lord. And I really thought we were going to get into a fight right there in the middle of the street over nothing. I don't know. Maybe it was a bad day for him. But I will say, a lot of us more so work together than we fight with each other. That was probably the one time that I ever thought something was going to amount to anything.
So do you feel like your business is good enough for a TV show? Hashtag HSN.
Honestly, it very well could be. I don't think I'm the right person for it, though.
Really? You
No.
almost got in a fist fight. What are you talking about?
No, I don't know. I don't really like the limelight so much. I like doing what I do. I'm good at it. I kind of have an idea of what I want to accomplish. I just want to hit a certain goal, and once I hit that, I think I'm going to really revisit this whole career.
I know.
And hopefully add some more years to my life. But,
Yeah. Okay. So,
yeah.
San Antonio is a lovely city and a lovely place.
I
right?
love San Antonio.
Okay, so besides almost getting into fistfights in the middle of streets, let's talk about the love of San Antonio, because there's a lot of love here. I feel like Texans are...
I feel it. Love is in the air right now.
Especially San Antonians, right? We are very, like, straight to your face, but it's like, we'll get... All right, let's go have some beer. You know what I mean? Like,
I don't know. I'm from New Jersey. This is like a walk in the park compared to Jersey.
No,
it's way nicer here.
I'll agree.
Yeah.
So, what are some of your new families? Because you mentioned you have a daughter and all of that stuff. So, what do y'all like to do? What do y'all like to eat? What do you like to do for family activities? Because we all needed some downtime, So, what are those places in San Antonio for you and your family?
I would say tubing on the Comal River is one.
Ah, great. 10 out of 10 would recommend.
Canyon Lake, when there's water in the lake, is awesome. I can't remember the place we go to. It's right next to wherever that supermarket is.
I think
In Canyon Lake. You make like a right there. There's a park for I think it's Jacobs Creek.
Oh yeah, there's Jacobs Creek Park,
which is
That's a
awesome.
good one to go to. There's also another. We go camping there every year, pretty much, but it's starting to go down the water, so it's kind of sad.
Yeah, that one's a little bit tough. Where else can I think of?
Okay, but you said two places outside of San Antonio. I'm talking.
I know, but they're
no, I know,
we're
I
all
know.
connected.
it
you
is.
know?
I'll give you that. But like, okay, places to eat. Do you guys like to go to the zoo? There's the
We've
museum.
been to the zoo several
downtown.
times. The Pearl, the Riverwalk. I know it's a tourist attraction, but I love the Riverwalk. It's the reason I moved here. I thought the Riverwalk was awesome. Boudreaux's on the Riverwalk is probably the best restaurant ever.
Oh, Boudreaux's is pretty good.
Oh my god, I love that place. They should pay me for this because I give them so many shout outs.
Hashtag sponsorship.
all the time. It's incredible. Where else can I think of? I'm sure I'm probably missing so many different things, but
Yeah.
But
well, it's enough to say that because y'all are on the east side, so it's kind of like y'all have to make a drive. So if it's worth the drive,
yeah,
it's worth it.
Yeah.
Because gas ain't cheap.
For sure.
And traffic's picking up.
And I've got a diesel truck, so definitely.
There's even more credibility. Now, as an investor, right? You see a lot of different homes, all that stuff. What is your dream home? Have you ever thought about that? Like, if money wasn't like, what is the word? If money was
no object.
Yeah, no object. What would your dream house be? Like where? No, it has to be here in San Antonio. So where? How much?
In San Antonio.
Yeah.
That's a good question. Is Scenic Loop, is that Helotes or is that San Antonio?
San Antonio.
It's pretty sweet.
Okay, it is. It's very nice out there.
Although scenic. I'm very partial to Timberwood Park. I love Timberwood Park. It's nowhere near as nice as what is it? Canyons at Scenic Loop. It is beautiful over there.
It is.
I mean, I like Timberwood. I know Garden Ridge is not San Antonio, but is very close. I like Garden Ridge a lot, too. There's just so many... Oh, you know what? Alamo Heights. If money was no object, I'd take it back.
Okay.
It would be... that's not San Antonio either.
It's like, it is. It's like the Tri-City.
Yeah. It's like the Vatican,
it
basically.
Is, honestly.
Yeah, Alamo Heights is awesome.
Closer to like Broadway. I love that
What's
area.
the other one that's near Alamo Heights that is in San Antonio? King William's District.
Ooh.
Is really nice too.
Okay.
Yeah, if money was no object, probably King William's. Mm-hmm. It's incredible. There's so much character in the houses down there.
So a lot of times, a lot of the investors, right, they come in and they kind of, to me, sometimes in my opinion, depending on location, they modernize the home too much. If you were to move in like the King William district and to buy like a historic home, do you think you would keep a lot of that charm and that authenticity? Okay.
Definitely.
Okay.
Although I would probably either have Kristen or my designer figure that out. Let the pros handle it, you know?
Yeah.
But no, I would keep the character for sure.
Yeah. Now, you're, walking around and all that other stuff. How do you pick the homes that you buy? I know you make the decision pretty quickly, but what is it, the thing? Is it that kind of like, oh, yep, that's it?
I think location is a big factor. Mm-hmm. That's one of them. Number two is probably days on market. Mm-hmm. Is one of the biggest factors, because if a house is going to take a year to sell, I probably don't want it.
Yeah.
But if houses are selling in 30 to 60 days, I'm interested. And I know it's a big mistake I made early on in my career, that I thought a house was in a bad area of town, or a house was in Pleasanton or in Jordanton, and it's just so far from San Antonio. But once I started looking at it, if days on market are low, people are still buying.
Yeah.
So I think that's probably a big factor in it. As far as how to pick them, a lot of houses at this point, they get brought to us. Brought to me from different realtors, from different marketing avenues that we do, different people in the industry. But the biggest thing is, do the numbers line up? And if the numbers line up, I'm interested.
Okay.
One thing I will say is I try to stay away from houses where there's new construction near the houses. That's one of
Hard to
my
compete with those,
biggest things I try to stay away from, because it's just so hard to compete with.
All the incentives they have. Yeah.
I mean, if a builder's offering 4 or 5% interest, my house could be 150 grand cheaper, and on a monthly basis, the builder's still cheaper.
Yeah.
So I try to stay away from any areas with new construction, but that's kind of
I'll see you. I have a question for my husband. Babe, how much time do we have left?
So we're good. Like 10 minutes.
I want an exact time, please. How much time? Okay. So, all right. Now, gonna go into the advice and then the futuro. So, what advice? You have a brand new baby investor. They're like, I want to invest. Yeah. It's gonna be so much fun. What advice would you give that investor? It could be a big piece, the biggest piece of advice you have, or it can be like your top 3.
I would think if you're a brand new investor, get an inspection. Because you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
And there could be things at face value that need to be done, but there can be underlying things. Like, again, the first house I bought had no city sewage and didn't have a septic tank. I had no idea. That was 15 grand learning lesson.
Ouch.
It had AC vent covers, but it had no AC ducts or air conditioning. That was an $8,000 mistake. And these are just things that you won't notice, or you think you might notice, but an inspector will undoubtedly catch.
Okay.
Another, I think, is doing it. I think too many people get caught up in research,
Paralysis analysis.
mentorship, you name it. Like, I can't tell you how many people I know who've spent 20 grand on mentorship and still haven't bought a house.
Damn.
Whereas if you would have bought a home, you could have made $20,000 of mistakes, but have learned so much in the process.
I'm thinking of a specific investor.
And,
Sorry, I'm not going to name any names, but I'm going to ask you afterwards.
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing is just, if it's something you want to do, I would try to partner with a local realtor as well, who can run comps
numbers,
on a house to get a
turnover
good
rate, absorption
because
rate.
I tell you, a lot of investors, they buy houses off of wholesalers. And I really think, and I'm probably going to get a lot of grief for this, but the number one rule in real estate should be never trust a wholesaler. I take that back. Number one rule in real estate investing should be never trust a wholesaler. Because they'll tell you a $400,000 house is worth 600 grand all day long.
Yeah.
And that's the tough one. Whereas a realtor will give you a pretty solid understanding of, okay, these are what, the comps are. And if you've got a decent understanding as far as comps, you're willing to take that risk. It's wild how much you can learn from just taking on a project.
So in the beginning, would you say they should be heavily involved in the rehab, and then as they get better, they don't have to be as involved? Or do you find yourself more involved in the rehab part, still to this day, or did you kind of learn to trust the process?
Honestly, it's a really good question. And I've got myself included and a bunch of friends of mine, we're all heavily involved. I don't know. I mean, I'm assuming you can do it, but I don't know if the houses are. I think for me, I don't know how I wouldn't be involved. I think the two things that kill deals for real estate investing, one is hard money, because the interest will eat you alive, and the points will eat you alive. And then having general contractors is a tough one too, Because if you're the general contractor and you're hiring the crews to come in and you're overseeing things, no one's going to care more about your renovation, your flip
Or
more
your
than you
investment
are.
More than you are.
Yeah. You've got the most skin in the game. So, yeah, I mean, I'm still actively involved till today. Granted, I used to do a lot of work with several of the guys I work with. Now I'm a little bit more hands off. I don't do as much work as I used to, but I oversee the projects, manage them, and yeah.
Okay. So for Selma House Fast, Texas, where do you see you and the company in 5 years? Do you have goals or like, hey, by this time, like as an investor, do you do that sort of thing for yourself or, the business? 2029, go.
I don't know. I feel like that's such a corporate America question,
I know, but I have to ask as the interviewer.
I haven't been in corporate America for a while, and I've loved it. I will say I love being self-employed. I love answering to myself.
Okay, maybe a better way is, what aspirations do you have?
I think at some point what I want to focus on is some form of stream of income where it's not so dependent on me going out there and producing.
So right now you don't buy and hold. You buy and you flip.
I buy and flip predominantly, and I've started doing a lot of seller financing recently. So we probably have about 7 notes out there.
Okay.
And I could see something progressing more into doing more seller financing and hopefully acquiring either apartment complexes or things of that nature in the future, just so I can diversify and just take a step back from being this actively involved on a day-to-day basis. Although I'm sure I still will be. I don't really know. I think I would get bored if I didn't do anything. Yeah. So but I'll circle that as the time comes. But
be like 80-year-olds. Yes, I'm gonna put an offer right here, right now.
I wouldn't put it past it. I wouldn't. But.
Okay, so we have this tradition now where the last. I know I'm gonna get into it. I'm gonna get into it. We have our last guest. They have to ask the new podcast guest without knowing who they are or what they do. A question, and it's going to be any question. So the last guest we had was Luis Rodriguez. He's our accountant. He's amazing, by the way. So if you ever need a recommendation, we will always recommend him.
Luis Rodriguez, got it.
Yes. He's with Presidio, oh, Lord. Presidio Tax Advisory Group. They just changed their name, so that's why. Okay, but his question was, tell us an embarrassing moment from high school, when you were back in high school. What is your most embarrassing moment? Really got you thinking.
Man, high school was like an eternity ago. Most embarrassing moment in high school. I'm stalling right now. Bear with me.
Trust me, we have them. And it doesn't necessarily mean that it have to happen on school grounds. It's just your high school years from like 14 to 18.
Oh, man, I'm trying to think of one, and I'm stalling here. Man, I've tried to forget high school. Not that I had a bad high school experience.
I know, it's just...
Yeah, I liked high school. It was great, honestly.
Were you in any sports?
I think I focused more on the good times than probably the bad times.
Yeah, but you can still have a funny, embarrassing story. It doesn't have to be, like, anything bad.
Oof. Man, I might have to circle back with you on this one.
Okay. Like, did you do any dares?
I guess going to prom in an all-white tux.
Oh.
That was cool. I didn't think it was embarrassing. I thought it was awesome. I think I looked great.
Pixar didn't happen.
I guess it was like a Dumb and Dumber moment for me. It wasn't orange or blue, but it was all white. I thought I was Benny Blanco. Yeah, I guess that's probably it.
Okay. Were you like the only like all white tux there?
I was the only all white tux, and I had Air Forces on too.
Oh.
So I didn't wear dress shoes. That was probably the most embarrassing part looking back. wearing Air Forces with an all white
Yeah.
tux.
I was like, the white tux is not as much, but yeah, that's okay. All right. Thank you for saying that.
Yeah, there you go.
Send us pictures. We will post it everywhere. And okay, so now you have to ask the next guest. You know his name, but you know nothing about him. What's a question that you would like us to ask him?
Oh man. This is probably
Or them.
This is probably gonna be so lame.
Uh-huh.
But I'm from New Jersey. I love New York style pizza. Where's the best pizza in San Antonio?
Oh. Do you have can you answer that one? Based off your experience?
Based off of my experience, I'm going with. It used to be Luciano's,
Oh, okay.
but it's not Luciano's anymore. It's like Popo.
Oh, Popo's Pizzeria or something like that. You know what y'all have to try? I'm going to say it all the time, is Pizza Classics. They're by the zoo. It's kind of like...
Oh, there's one over there too. There's another one.
But they have amazing mac and cheese pizza y'all have to have. It's to die for. Like,
you know what's hilarious? When I first
what?
moved here,
Uh-huh.
I remember first moving here, and I was out with a few friends of mine, and they ordered jalapeno pepperoni pizza,
Oh, yeah. Mm.
and I thought it was the biggest sin in the world. I was disgusted. I'm not gonna lie. I was
Okay.
like, this is awful. Like, why would anybody ever put jalapenos on pizza?
Why wouldn't you put jalapenos on pizza?
Granted, like jalapenos don't exist in New Jersey. Like, there's no
they
such
don't?
thing. No, for sure, no. Like, try finding jalapeno in a supermarket. Like, not gonna happen. And then, sure enough, now I enjoy it. But yeah.
Well, okay. I could go on and on about jalapenos. Okay, so I have one thing to give to you
All
to
right.
take home.
It's not the Selena coasters, is it?
No, I'm sorry, those are mine.
Oh,
Those are
lame.
mine. I
had
won
my eyes
those.
on those for a while
I
now.
won those at a Chamber of Commerce event, so those are mine. But if I find them and I see the person
I
again,
have
I'm
to go
like,
on
give me
Amazon
some.
here. Hopefully they have Selena coasters.
Well, these are special. So, okay. So, I love creativity, love art, all that jazz. You'll see some of my artwork in here. I have a painting there. I have a painting there. And I do a lot of either, not acrylic art, or I guess I could say acrylic, but also art with wax, like crayons. So I always create a canvas for each guest. So I have a podcast. I have a canvas for y'all to take home.
Awesome.
And here it is. So that is made out of crayons. And I
Sweet.
really love metallic crayons. So it's got like this metallic sort of
Really
cool to it.
Well, thank
It's up for interpretation what it is. I'm not going to say what I think it is sometimes, but...
I'll
yeah.
let Kristen figure this out. I'm like the opposite of you when it comes to creativity.
Like, what's that
Well,
test
that-
where the ink block test, where it's like the psychiatrist asks you to look at ink blocks and they're like, tell me, what do you see? You know, and it tells a lot about your character. So
Yeah, I'm probably really boring.
I hope
when it
you don't
comes
think
to that.
atomic bomb or anything like that, you know? But
You know, now that you mention it, I don't know. But I mean, Mushroom Club?
it's for y'all. It's up for interpretation. Okay, so I think that's enough time before we get to the Q&A. Yes. Okay, because we're waiting because it's an hour. Okay, so Daniel, thank you so much. You've been an absolutely wonderful
Yeah,
guest.
thanks for having me.
On our podcast. And one more time, tell the YouTube world and the podcast world, how we can reach you, how they can talk to you, all that jazz. Sell yourself in 1 minute. Go. No, you can have more than a minute. Just do it.
You could reach me on my website. It's Sell My House Fast, and then SATX, like SanAntonioTexas.com. If you wanted to call, 210-951-0143. I would say anyone who's thinking about getting into the business, any realtors who are maybe having a tough time, selling a house right now, to keep us in mind. Our offers are no obligation. It's something to just keep in mind, especially if the houses, need a little bit more work. We work with a lot of different realtors in the San Antonio area. That's about. I usually don't sell myself very often.
You got to have a sales pitch.
I know.
You like
I
the
like to add value, and that's it. You know, if I think I can help, I'm happy to help. But I don't like the stigma of being a salesman. You know.
No, I see you. I see you.
For sure.
I see you. I see you. It was great, though. You did a great job. But
Well,
thank
thanks
you
so
guys.
much.
Thank you, Daniel, again.
Yeah. Very nice meeting you guys. Thanks for having me.
Yes. Thank you so much for watching. Gabriel and I are San Antonio's realtor couple. So if you're looking to buy, sell, or invest in San Antonio, obviously hit us up. Or if you're thinking about investing and you need some advice, you can definitely hit up Daniel. He would be more than happy to help, and so will we. If you haven't already, please subscribe. We have our podcast, but we also do luxury videos. So yes, San Antonio has luxury listings. Yes, we have beautiful $1 million homes, so you need to check those out because they just keep getting better and better and better. If you don't believe me, go subscribe, comment, like those videos. It really helps our algorithm. So thank you so much for watching. We will see you guys on the next one.